With a major selection of the looks your kiddos love starting at just $4 in the Walmart app, a new school year means a stylish new them. Who knew? Find skater skirts and Crocs that say, I'm casual but cool. Sparkly sneakers that say, it's my classroom, you're just learning in it. And preppy polos that say, I'm the teacher's pet, even if they're mommy's menace at home. Find their favorite styles starting at just $4 in the app. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new.
Finding a new job is stressful. But with Indeed, it doesn't have to be. Just fill out your Indeed profile with your skills, experience, and desired salary. The more you fill out, the better your matches will be. And hearing from hiring managers will be 2 times more likely. Relax. That's your Indeed profile sending opportunities your way. Indeed, the world can work better.
Hi, and welcome to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. My name is Bill Moore. I'm the Executive Director of the National Street Food Vendors Association, which is a nonprofit dedicated to education, advocacy, and uplifting all food vendors. Today, we're going to be talking about the top 10 infractions that are listed on a health inspection when somebody from your state licensing agency comes in and says, hey, I'm here to do an inspection. So we're going to talk about the top 10 infractions. But before we get into that, I want to thank Concession Nation for sponsoring this episode of the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. They craft beautiful mobile kitchens, and some of those kitchens end up in the biggest names in our business. And guess what? Those clients keep coming back. Now, why is that? It's because they have unbeatable innovation, they have elite craftsmanship, and their sales director, Keith Brown, knows this industry inside and out. He is an amazing person to talk to. He's got a history as a concessionaire just like you. He knows this business, and he also knows the build side of things. So give them a call or go to concessionnation.com, and when you do, let them know you heard it on the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. So let's talk about those 10 infractions that are so common, and really sadly so common, on a health inspection. The most frequently marked infraction on a health inspection is improper or infrequent hand washing. This is the easiest thing to get. When should you wash your hands, or how should you wash your hands? Let's deal with the improper first. So improper means that they either didn't wet their hands, didn't put soap on their hands, or they didn't vigorously rub their hands for the required time of 20 seconds. They didn't dry their hands properly, or the hot water didn't reach the stated temperature of the rules and regulations. So this is low-hanging fruit, as we call it. You should get this every single time. You should know how to wash your hands. There's a lot of different methods on how to make sure you hit the 20-second mark, but the easiest one is just to sing happy birthday to yourself. Or you can be like us. We have a clock with a sweep hand, a second sweep hand on it, so we can make sure we're hitting 20 seconds. Very easy to do. So the proper steps would be you take your hands and you turn on the faucet. Allow the water to get to the whatever your state's temperature requirement is. So once the water has built up its temperature, you get your hands wet. Then you put soap on your hands. Then you vigorously rub your hands and up your forearms for 20 seconds. So again, sing happy birthday to yourself or watch a clock. Once the 20 seconds have elapsed, then you're going to rinse your hands, get all the soap off, get the soap off your forearms. Then you're going to take paper towels. The water is still running now. You're going to take paper towels, dry your hands, and use that paper towel to hit the handle on your sink and turn it off. Now you can go fancy, and they have a couple of different things you can add to your sink that will allow that to be touchless, but most food trucks won't invest that kind of money, so you're going to be, again, taking that paper towel after you dried your hands and used it as a barrier between you and that sink faucet to turn the water off. Then most states want you to throw that paper towel into a receptacle that is only for paper towels. Typically it's located right beside the hand wash sink. That does a couple of things. Number one, it allows you to easily look in the trash can and go, there's not enough paper towels in here. Why are you guys not washing your hands frequently enough? So there should only be paper towels in that receptacle. It can be a small one, doesn't have to be a big one. So what about the frequency? How frequently should you wash your hands? Anytime you change jobs. So you go from making food to sweeping the floor. Or you go from making food, touching ready-to-eat foods with your gloved hands, and you have to change gloves. You have to wash your hands. Now, if you go to a food truck, you're going to see a whole bunch of people that never, ever wash their hands. They will take their old gloves off, throw them away, if we're lucky, and then they will run right over, get some new gloves. So those hands that are all sweaty and contaminated are now touching the gloves to put back on their hands. And then they think that's perfectly safe and they run over and start making food. Number one infraction on health inspections, especially at the food truck level, improper or infrequent hand washing. The second most, and this is so common, the second most listed infraction is cold food above 41 degrees. Cold food above 41 degrees. Now, why is that? And you're going, well, my trailer's so hot, nothing can keep up. Doesn't matter what the excuse is. The requirement is that your food is below 40 if it's supposed to be cold. 41 or below. Some states is 40 or below. In either case, it's got to be cold. Many food truck owners park their trucks, empty everything out of it, put it in the commissary, so they've turned off the refrigeration. So it never has a chance the next morning to build up. Reach-ins are designed to be turned off at the end of the night. We used to do it in many of the different restaurants that we had. They were on wheels, so we would unplug them and wheel into the back of the restaurant while we would scrub and clean the floor all around them. And then the next morning, the opener would wheel everything back in place, plug it in, turn it on, and give it time to build up the temperature to wherever it's supposed to be. But when you get the cheap units that aren't designed to be unplugged consistently, or you get the home units, which is even worse, they won't maintain temperature. And then you stick them inside of a tin can, which is what your food truck or food trailer is, they definitely are not going to maintain temperature because there's not enough air circulation. So you've got to do what you can to make sure the food stays below 40 or below 41, depending upon what your state rules and regulations are. But it's very, very common for the food not to be there. Now, it doesn't mean you automatically throw everything away, because the food can be held outside of 41 degrees, but now it falls into that time control for food safety. You already failed the temperature control for food safety, so now it's the time. So the question becomes, how long has this food been above 41 degrees? If you can honestly say it's only been above 41 degrees for an hour, you've got 3 hours left before you have to discard all of that food. So have that little sale and get the food turned over while you're trying to figure out what are we going to do to make sure that this refrigeration unit stays below 41 or 40. Again, depending upon your state. You should have a thermometer that lets you know every time you open the door what the temperature is. So I always put a thermometer in my refrigeration units, and all of our refrigeration and freezers have the little devices that will send us a signal and say, hey, this is getting above the temperature you have it set for. So you've got to have all those protections in place because it's an important responsibility. You don't want to make somebody sick, because you make somebody sick and they can prove it was your fault, you've lost your business. The next, number 3 on the list, is hot food is held below 135. So we've cooked it. We've got it the exact temperature we want it to be, and then we put it in a holding unit that doesn't keep it at the right temperature. So the hot food is below 135, which again, danger zone. Some states it is 140. The newest regulations are 135, but there are many states that have not adopted the newest regulations, so they're at the 140. I personally think even 140 is too cold, because when you bite into something that's 140, it doesn't feel hot. Even though you think, wow, 140, I can't touch 140. You may not be able to, but your mouth can. You drink coffee that's usually in the 170, 180 range and think it's awesome. So biting into something that's above 140 is not a big deal. Your holding units should at least be at 140, just for palatability. That's my opinion. We keep ours at 150. I want the food, when they open it up, to be steaming hot. I want there to be that aroma that's carried by that steam. So they go, oh, this smells good. 135 doesn't produce that. But you can at least be at 135 or 140 for hot food. If you fall below that, you're going to get a ding on your inspection. Here's the next one. Again, food related. The food is not cooked to the required temperature. Now, we talked about holding it at either 135 or 140 and above, but that's not cooking it. That's holding it. Cooking it means that a piece of protein like chicken, you have to cook it to 165. That's to kill the potential bacteria that could be living in that protein. So you cook it at the thickest part to 165. You should have a probe thermometer that will let you know that. An infrared thermometer that barbecue dudes use won't do it because it can't see what the internal temperature is. It can only tell you what the external temperature is. But internal temperatures require a probe. So chicken's got to be to 165. If you cook hamburgers, and this is going to freak out a whole bunch of people, a hamburger needs to go to 155 for a certain number of seconds. So it can't just reach 155 and fall. It has to hit 155 and stay there, which means it's going to be well done. Now, yes, I know there are a whole bunch of restaurants that will make you sign your life away if you want a burger that is less than well done. I don't have time for that on a food truck, and you don't either. You got to cook the meat all the way through, thoroughly through, and this is ground meat. There's all kinds of problems with ground meat in the processing plants. Just look at the recalls and you'll really reconsider whether you're going to sell ground meat or not. But the fact remains, ground meat has to go to 155. And every other protein out there has its own cookout temperature. You need to know what those are if you sell them. Because the health department's going to know when they come in and see you selling a protein, they're going to either ask you or watch you do it. And if it doesn't reach that cookout temperature, you get a mark on the report. The next most common thing, cross-contamination between raw and ready-to-eat foods. Ready-to-eat food, if you want to think of it, is something that as soon as you're done with it, the consumer gets it, is going to eat it. A raw food means that it's got to have some kind of prep work, some type of cook work done to it. So where you see this a lot is in a burger truck. We'll use that as an example. They are cooking the hamburger meat. So that's one job. They're cooking hamburger meat. So they laid a whole bunch of hamburgers on the griddle and they immediately go to assembling a sandwich or dressing the bun. They changed jobs, didn't wash their hands. So now they have cross-contamination between that raw meat and the ready-to-eat product that's getting ready to go out. No matter how careful you are, because again, if you're wearing gloves got to be changed because you changed jobs. But if you're not wearing gloves, so you're just using the spatula, well, the spatula's handle's dirty. You change jobs, you have got to go wash your hands. Otherwise, you're just cross-contaminating. And that's just one of the easy ones. There's all different kind of ways you can cross-contaminate. Foods from unapproved or unsafe sources. There always has to be a paper trail. The reason there has to be a paper trail is in case somebody gets sick. The health department will come to you because you were the last ones to touch it. And if you can prove that, hey, I did everything correctly on my food truck, which means you have documentation on cookouts and temperature readings and all the things we've been talking about to this point, the health inspector will go, hey, you're not the problem. Where'd you buy the food from? Let's go back one step in the chain. And if they're not from an approved source, guess who the problem is? That would be you. If you can't verify where you bought it, then all the problems fall back to your shoulders. So you cannot buy food from an unapproved or an unsafe source. You see this a lot with seafood, a whole lot with seafood. People go out on a boat, they bring you back a bunch of seafood, and then they sell it on the side of the road. Not the place you want to buy the food from. No certified food protection manager on site. This is the next one. No food protection manager on site. So the owner has decided, number one, to not bother with the food manager certification, or they're not present. They took the test, but they got somebody else running the truck who doesn't have that certification. Here's the thing. If you are open and selling to the public, there must be someone on that food truck at all times that is a certified food protection manager. And there's a blue million companies out there that give it. My recommendation is to get it from the World Food Safety Organization. So you got to have that certified food protection manager on your food truck anytime you're open and selling to the public. I would get 2 of them. Have 2 of your employees. And if it's always going to be you on the food truck, that's awesome. You have it and one other person that's going to be there consistently. Otherwise, you can't run out to buy something because you're not present. You have to close. Poor personal hygiene. It's sad that this actually gets marked on a health inspection. We're selling food to the public. There should not be an issue with poor personal hygiene. Yes, it gets hot. Yes, it gets sweaty. Yes, take care of yourself. Recognize that there's an issue and go fix it. If you don't have the self-awareness to realize that I might have bad hygiene, I don't want to think about the food that you're selling. Unsanitized food contact surfaces. So you have a job that you're doing. Again, let's say you're chopping vegetables. Okay, you're cutting them directly on the counter. You're dulling your knife, but let's just say that you don't know any better. You're cutting those vegetables on that counter. Health inspector walks in. They will assume that you sanitized that counter before you started cutting those vegetables. But when you pick that knife up and go put it away, and you clean off those vegetables, put them in whatever container they're supposed to go in, and you decide to move on to the next food production activity you have to do in that same spot and do not wash and sanitize that spot, you're going to get dinged on it. Unsanitized food contact surfaces. Now that's an obvious one. There are food trucks that I've walked on that there are counters in the corners especially. Lots of crumbs. It's like, did y'all ever wipe this? Oh yeah, every day. Well, then why is there a big semicircle of crumbs and buildup back here? Oh, I just didn't get in the corner. Okay, well, they're going to mark you for having unsanitized food contact surfaces. And then the last one, pest activity or improper waste management. We're a food truck. So just go look at your drains. Chances are the drain that leads from underneath your triple sink through the floor you can probably see daylight where that pipe extends down. So if you can see daylight, the bugs can come in, rodents can come in. So you have to have some type of pest control, and I recommend a professional do it. Just have them come spray your trailer and leave you the paperwork so that you can show that you're doing what it takes to keep those pests under control. And then, of course, if you have an issue, if you've got a contract with them, they'll come and take care of the issue. If you don't have a contract with them and the health department comes in and says, oh, look at the roaches, you're going to get dinged. Chances are they're going to close you down, because when they see one, they're going to assume there's a whole nest of them somewhere, and they'll look for those droppings. They'll look for dead bugs underneath counters and stuff, and when they find them, they will close you down. So there you have the 10 most frequent citations that are on an health inspection. Thank you guys so much for listening to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. I want to remind you guys I'm going to be in Las Vegas, Nevada. When this particular episode airs, I'm actually in Las Vegas. So if you guys are nearby, you got to come check us out. That is July 15th and 16th. This particular episode should air on the 14th. So that gives you 24 hours to get to Las Vegas and come see us and check us out. Again, that's at the Food Truck Owners Expo at the Rio in Las Vegas, Nevada. If you'd like to attend, go to ftoexpo.com, place your order for those tickets, and when you do, put in the code FTTG15 for a 15% discount. Until next time, you guys have a profitable day.